when you're in that zone, when you draw, right, or paint, you feel this like maybe Zen moment or something. Like you really engrossed in that craft. So I think that's kind of like addictive. It has always been that state of mind when I do my art. There's no question about it. Like I don't have to ask myself like how long I'll do it or when I do. I know for sure that I'm going to do it for life because that's what my passion is. I never really.
So it almost feels like
Yeah.
it almost feels like instinct,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's kind of like that.
Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Fox and Burger Podcast, where we bring you closer to the Asian side of the furry fandom, one episode at a time. I'm your co-host, Michael the Matcha Fox.
And I'm Burger.
And today, we have another guest from Singapore, the one and only CheetahPaws.
In this episode, we explored CP's past, like what inspired him to become an artist, and him coming out to his family. We then talked about his job as a teacher and how he transitioned into a furry. Finally, CP shared his experiences as a veteran artist and a vendor at conventions.
We're finally honored to have CP on the podcast, and we hope you're just as excited too. So, sit back, relax, smell the kopi and te, and enjoy. Okay, so welcome CheetahPaws to the podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me here.
Yeah, you've been on our list for quite some time, I think. For about a year or two. I've lost track, but yeah.
Yes.
Welcome to the pod.
I've been waiting
Happy
for
New Year.
you for 2 years. No, just joking.
Yeah, I remember.
busy,
Yeah,
so-
For us, wow.
yeah, everyone's busy. Yeah,
Yeah, Happy New Year to you guys too.
yeah. Happy New Year,
Yeah.
Merry Christmas,
新年
Happy
快乐。
Lunar New, Happy Chinese New Year, Happy Western New Year, 新年快乐.
Yeah, 新年快乐。
Yeah, so how did you spend your New Year?
During the COVID, as you know, nobody got to visit. So I held my kind of end of the year gathering at my house. I hosted a couple of friends over and finally get to like catch
Oh,
up
yeah.
with them. So it was pretty eventful. Like because for the most part of the months, I'm pretty much just working. So I think that year end was pretty like busy, but in a fun kind of way, cause I like celebrated Christmas as well. Had another gift exchange party at my house, so it was back to back. And now I just back to work as usual. Yeah, so it was fun.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's always important to have at least Christmas and New Year's off, not working. Just
yeah.
because, well, that just comes from me coming from the West, because those are important days for us to have off as holidays,
But the funny thing is that because I'm always like thinking about work. So even though it's holiday and sometimes you hang out with friends,
Yeah.
I'm still at the back of my mind. I'm like still thinking about my projects. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like non-
I feel like you're a workaholic, but
no, I don't want to be a workaholic.
Yeah. Well, in this interview, like we brought you on for several reasons. One, that you're probably one of the best well-known like Southeast Asian artists out there, like furry artists, I should say, maybe just artists in general. You've been in the fandom for a very, very long time. I actually don't know how many years, but I'm guessing 10 plus years. Is that right?
Probably more than
More
that.
than- Oh, wow. So like we know that you have like a lot of experiences in life, like with art and things like that. Maybe we can talk about your history in the fandom. Maybe we can talk about a little bit about LAFC. We already had an episode about LAFC, but you can talk a little bit about it. Like I know you had some helping hand with LAFC, and then we could talk more about Singapore. So we have a lot of things to talk about for sure.
Right.
We done like 2 people already with Singapore. One of them was Holud and Kaioki. The other one was Decro, right? Yeah, Decro and Ska.
Yeah.
So shout out to those guys.
Yeah.
And now we have our 3rd episode on Singapore. I guess we had to
Yay.
keep going back for some reason. Yeah, we
We're
had to represent
neighbors, that's
Singapore.
why we're so close.
Yeah. Yeah. I have been to
literally
LAFC.
in some cases.
Yeah, Burger's been to Singapore
Oh,
once.
Yeah.
You met Holud. I've been to Singapore 3 times for LAFC, and then 2 times just on my own. Yeah.
Yeah, I never had the chance to go to LAFC myself, and I think I mentioned that before, but I did appreciate the time that I did go to Singapore, just for a few days back in 2019, before, the big epidemic happened.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, and you came out and we didn't get to meet right at that time when you were here.
Well, I think I would have remembered if we did, so I don't think so.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
It was mainly me, Holud, and Snares, and I think that was mostly it. We may have hung out with some others when we went down to like some of the gay bars down there, but
Right. Spicy.
yeah,
Yeah, spicy.
I don't know if we had a really spicy time down there. We just kind of talked and had drinks, and I was kind of boring because at first I wanted to Singapore sling,
Oh,
even though like
Everyone says no, right? Or doesn't everyone say don't get that?
they say no. They say it's a touristy drink, and I'm like,
yeah.
I'm a tourist.
well, I mean,
It's my kind of drink.
I had that. I had that as well when I was on the plane. I just asked for Singapore sling. I'm guilty.
I see.
Yeah, it's all right.
I think they're just being elitist.
Let's start with Singapore because like we usually like to talk about like the place that our guests like are born and raised. So, well, most people in America probably can't put it on a map, but if you had to describe Singapore like in a few sentences, how would you describe Singapore? Besides hot.
All right. In a few sentences, not a few words, right? At least. Okay. So it's
A few sentences.
I think it's like pretty busy city. It does have good infrastructure. Like transport is easy because it's small. So every place is easy to get to. You have food court downstairs. Everywhere there's food. Like Singaporeans love food, right? You do have hot weather throughout the year, so it's nice for me. I don't mind. But some people prefer like colder countries. Like it does rain a lot. It's very humid. But again, I don't mind at all.
Oh really?
Yeah. I realized that I do love like cold weathers, but my body just cannot take it for too long. I think when I went to a cold country, like, I'm not used to the cold, but I do like you can see the snow or you go snow skiing. I like that kind of activity is really nice. But of course there's some things like if you want to go swim, you can't go outdoor swimming in the cold country. You'll freeze to death. Yeah, that's the thing. I realized that when I went overseas, I was like, oh yeah, I cannot go out because it's too cold. So but in Singapore, it's like you can basically just go outdoor swimming any day of the year. There's no issue there.
In Singapore, everyone's like running from building to building to like because AC to AC, right?
Yeah,
at least for me, I can't. Well, I feel like I do better in warm countries, but every time I go to Singapore, the heat is pretty strong.
And
especially
if you're a fursuiter, right, then that might be a problem. But I from the countries I visit to, I mean, it is not the worst. Thailand is probably the worst, as in in terms of the temperature, it gets really insane. So we have a running joke that if you can you can endure in suit in Thailand, you can probably endure that in everywhere else.
Yeah.
Shout out to Thai furries.
Yeah, we've talked to quite a few furries on this podcast. Actually, we've asked them about like their experiences being in fursuits in that kind of really hot, humid jungle tropical weather. I was actually remembering the episode we did with Daza, and basically they said like they couldn't handle more than like 5 minutes outside
in Indonesia. But Claude can handle like 20 minutes or whatever. I think
like
that's what they said. Yeah.
If not, your whole suit will be like wet inside. Drenched.
Yeah, that's basically basically it.
Or let's just say if someone came to Singapore and they haven't been to Singapore before, like what's like the one food they have to try?
I know you probably heard that many times, like durian.
Yeah. I mean, I've had durian. I think Burger hasn't had it. You haven't had real durian before. I believe you've only had the candy.
No.
Yeah, you only had the candy.
I found that if you can't take the actual durian as a fruit, it's pretty nice as those durian pancakes, like the cold ones, and also very nice. Not like the Korean bingsu, the snow dessert.
Oh yeah.
It's actually I actually tried bingsu but with durian. I was a bit skeptical, but it tasted really good.
Wow.
I think most people might be able to take if it's in like a flavoring on something else. Like
Yeah.
But I do know there's a couple of visitors. I think Elector Fencer came down Singapore, and Easy Wolf came down. They were okay with durian because they say that back in their country they have like very strong flavored food, like cheese, very strong cheese. So they are used to taking like very strong like food. Yeah, they actually kind of like it. Yeah, so it's
Wow.
interesting.
Are they from Europe?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
so I don't.
yeah.
Oh,
They're
no wonder,
from
no wonder.
from Europe. Yeah.
Okay.
Right, yeah. We do have durian here in Taiwan as well, but the other strong smelling food we have is stinky tofu.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I tried the level 1, which is the lowest level, because I heard they have like different grades, right? But
Okay.
it's always smell it at the Taiwan night food streets. Like you can smell it
Yeah,
from
yeah.
a mile away, and I'm like, oh, I cannot
Yeah,
take it.
that's their advertising. They really want to bring out that pungent smell. Like, come on in, get your stinky food.
It didn't taste so bad as compared to the smell. I found they usually like add
Yeah.
the vegetable, like the pickled vegetables. So you had to eat it with that. With the sauce, but I can't tell because I chicken out. I only ate the level 1.
So durian versus stinky tofu, your team durian.
um, I think so. Yeah, definitely.
I
Alright,
have both.
yeah.
I think I'd rather eat durian. I don't think durian's stinky actually. A little bit, but sticky tofu, I actually think that's like, I think that's a little bit more sticky. But I think they ferment it though, right? I think sticky tofu they ferment it. Durian is not really fermented. It's just how it smells like. It just naturally smells like that.
Yeah, it's just natural.
Yeah, it's also very spiky.
Yeah, you gotta get around the spikes and really just cut it up with a big knife. Yeah.
On like a normal day though, like I know like that's like durian, that's like something you suggested that like a person who hasn't been to Singapore, you suggested that they eat that, but like on a normal day, what do you eat though? Like what does your lunch or dinner look
not
like?
just the let's say like when they came down and like Celty came down, I was introducing him like a lot of my like usual local food. Like I think if you okay, this is what I feel like if you go to another country, like I will ask my friend like, can you show me like
Yeah.
just the local like your day-to-day food, and I want to
Yeah, yeah.
experience that. So when it came down, I was like eating like prata, like Indian prata,
Yeah, prata.
biryani, which is like the rice, Malay rice, wonton noodle, which is the Chinese, like a noodle, like the thin
Yeah.
noodle with dark sauce. So those are like, and it's cheap. It's just at a coffee shop. Like you can find it almost everywhere. Like you have like Indian curry, and surprisingly, like at least for them and like for Celty, he loves like the Indian spices. So I
Nice.
think that's cool
Nice.
about Singapore is that you get to try like different cultures food and
Oh, yeah.
different tastes. And
I love that.
yeah, I think that's the one thing I realized that most people like about the food here. Like there's so much variety. It's not just like Japanese food, and we do have like a lot of Japanese food definitely. But the thing is that they also have very like Taiwan also has a lot of good Japanese food, right? So I normally don't bring them to like Japanese like stores at all.
I love Singaporean food. I like, it really reminds me of America where there's like this melting pot, and so like every culture kind of brings their flavor to the country, and I think like that's something I kind of miss like in Taiwan. Like I feel like I miss getting to be able to eat food from different cultures, but like easily, like more easy, like everywhere you can find different kinds of foods. When I go to Singapore, like I definitely enjoy the food culture Singapore has. I felt like in Taiwan there's not as much of variety. Like I wasn't saying that it was easy to get variety. I think it's actually hard to get variety. So that's why I appreciate Singapore. That's why I also appreciate the States. You know, I think Canada is also the same way. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of like a bad question to ask someone like, what food do you recommend, right? Because it's too much.
Yeah,
there's so many options.
Is a lot. Yeah, because at first I thought this is normal, like because I didn't get to travel until quite late in my life. So then when I travel, I realized, oh yeah, there's like quite a big difference and the types of food. So I definitely think that this the thing that stands out in Singapore, because we have a lot of like those coffee shops, which is available like in front of me just downstairs. There's like a coffee shop that's already selling like several different types of like food. And that's how easy it is, and it's cheap. I think that's also the next selling point is cheap, because I think Xiaoti told me that the same dish that he can find like Indian dish that maybe here sell about like $5 or $6, you can find it in Taiwan at a certain part of the town, but it will cost you like $20 and there's only just one store in the whole area.
Yeah. Well, for people who don't know, maybe we can flash a picture. Like, since Singapore is really dense, like most people live in, again, correct me if I'm wrong about this, but like apartments is called, was it like
HDB?
HDB, right? HDB. So like underneath the HDB is usually like the food court, right?
Yeah.
So it's really convenient to like get food. I like that though. I like that. I like how convenient it is to like. But then also it's usually not just like one kind of food. Like you have like well like you were saying, like there's like Malaysian food, there's Indian food, there's Chinese food.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a food court basically. Like at the bottom of the apartment is a food court. Yeah. I miss that.
Oh, come here this year.
Yeah.
I bring you around.
Maybe LAFC.
Yeah. Why not? Yeah. Burger,
why not?
Burger can come down too.
Oh yeah.
If I can afford it, yeah. I definitely enjoyed when I went to like a food hall, like a 2-story one, when I went with Halud and Snares. I don't remember all the food we got, but part of it was like the little dumplings, like I think in Taiwan they call it xiaolong bao.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those kinds of dumplings. I don't remember what else we got, but it was definitely delicious. Like, I think because the diversity of culture it's almost like government mandated, right?
You mean like for like living or for food or
maybe not so much food, but like everyday aspects, but like language and other kinds of like daily stuff. Yeah.
I'm not sure whether anyone shared this like the place like what Michael was saying, like HDB, right? Within each block there is a certain percentage that has to be Chinese, Malay, and Indian. That's how they want to integrate, like from young, like since you're born, you're used to like living with different people, and that has been like the core since like the development of Singapore. Which is like we don't really like feel it, but so let's say if someone were to sell the house, they have to make sure that they can only sell to the same, so that they keep the percentage the same. Which is quite interesting.
Yeah, and I think because there's these sorts of guidelines and laws about keeping things diverse and harmonious between the different cultures, I would make the argument, this is just me, I would make the argument that really helps people integrate and intermingle together, and that's where all these cultures come from, down to like, what kind of foods you like to have in the food halls,
Yeah. So I have another question actually still about like tourism. So we talked about food, but what about like going to places in Singapore? Like, again, if someone who hasn't been to Singapore, like at all, like where do you recommend that they go besides like Marina Bay Sands?
Singapore is so small. Usually when they come, I just say you can finish like in like 3-4 days. Like apart from like MBS, you have the zoo, you have like Sentosa, you have the aquariums, you have water parks. Like, I think those are like pretty. Like, I think there are probably better ones overseas as well. So I think that probably mingle with friends is the core. I think like the reason why you ever come down and stay for so long, right? You just want to hang out with friends. Because really sightseeing is like you probably finish it in like really a couple of days. Like that's yeah. And then of course food you can keep trying. There's a lot of food, and
like the first thing that people see when they leave the airplane, and I guess they leave the terminal, is Changi Airport, right? And that's new, right? Like that isn't like the current form of Changi, isn't that new?
They upgraded,
like, or the mall part, right?
Yeah, they upgraded the old car park into a new like airport, like the terminal, like and it's called Jewel, and it's pretty nice. And that's where Pokemon Center is. yeah.
Like it's not very far from the it, like when you leave the terminal, like you step in front of the Jewel, I think, and then like I think you're greeted by the waterfall first.
Yeah.
But then the Pokemon Center is like
the next thing
upstairs.
Is, you don't care about everything else. You don't care about your plane
just
or anything.
Pokemon.
Just Pokemon Center. You don't care about your food. You don't care whether you're hungry. Just go straight to the Pokemon Center.
We can flash pictures of the Pokemon Center.
Pikachu,
Yeah, because I don't think we have that. We don't have that in Taiwan, I think, right? We don't have. Well, we don't have a true Pokemon Center. Not that I know.
We do have a Pokemon themed 7-Eleven. Yeah, it's over in Banqiao, I think. It's like the whole thing's like decked out with like Pokemon decorations inside. There's like those little Pokemon. It's almost like an arcade machine, but instead of like using cards, or it's like a little chip thing or like a collectible thingy that's your Pokemon. But yeah, I've never really been into an actual Pokemon Center, and I don't actually remember the one that was in Changi Airport. But next time I go there, I'll definitely give it a look. You know,
Yeah.
I'm so with Pokemon. I've been there like a few times, like to that specific store, but I'm so with Pokemon. Like I never played Pokemon Go, if you can believe that. So you can shoot me now, but
No, it's okay. It's okay. Like perfectly fine.
I actually want to sort of like maybe take a step back here. Like, could you tell us? Well, we know you're an artist, but could you tell us like how you got into art though? Like, where were the origins? What's the spark? That kind of stuff.
Wow, I think this is the most asked question to any artist, right? I don't know where to start. Like, I guess like if I think back to my childhood, I didn't really know like I would go into art. Like you know, as a kid, you wouldn't think of career and job and all that. You just draw for fun, right? And I think one of the reasons, perhaps if I think back now, is probably because of my brother used to like collect a lot of comic books. We didn't have money to buy, so he goes to these rental shops where they actually can rent out like those Hong Kong comics and like Japanese comics for small price, like just a couple of dollars, and you can return it like in a few days. So at home there was always like comic books, and I would just pick it out and look at it. And I was like, whoa, that's like. I still remember like my first few comics that I really loved was like Dragon Quest, Dragon Ball, and there was like some Hong Kong comics like Solar Lord. Then of course there's Xiao Ding Dang, and I started to like just take my drawing paper and trace, like copy the cover, copy the characters. Even though I just copying, I didn't know why I did it. I just loved the characters so much. I was just trying to draw them out, and it felt really fun. And I think maybe it started from there. Like there wasn't a lot of like furry cartoons back then, right? So it was just like your mainstream animation, and and it kind of grew up from there, I guess. Like then I took out art club, and I did more traditional stuff. I did like watercolors. I worked with clay to do my ceramic bowls.
You said that the art club was like secondary or primary?
Yeah, it was secondary. But I took arts.
Okay.
I took arts as one of my O-level subjects, which is the one that you do at the end of the year. You have this art project, right? So that's why I think that's where I pick up all the necessary skills for the traditional side, like your pencils and all that stuff, pencil rendering and still life, drawing fruits, drawing fruits over and over.
Oh yeah, still life, yeah. So like you're one of those kids, like your electives were mainly art focused. Like there's some people who do like orchestra or band or something
exactly.
else, like math, but you're like you focused on like art, like back in secondary.
And I think that continued. Like I wasn't sure whether I was good enough when I just eventually had to choose a school, like a polytechnic to go into. I enrolled in this local school, like which is an animation school. That's where I pick up like more skills and decide that.
Is that where you work right now? Do you work at the polytechnic?
Yes.
I had a feeling we either talked about this or I think we talked about this like when you came to Taiwan like a few months ago. I think it's either that or in one of our Discord calls. Yeah. So like, wow, like so you studied at that school and then later you became a teacher.
Yeah.
And just to let people know, I think people know this already, but yeah, CP is a teacher. CheetahPaws is a teacher, by the way.
Yeah. I didn't really think that I would go into this route. I guess like
Well, what did you think? What did you think you would be doing?
I wanted to go into like a game studio more, like at that time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but there was like recession going on. So it was quite tough to find a job. I did work like freelance for a while. I did join some card game company, but it closed down. So I had to like change career again. And I think the time was right. They were hiring, so I just give it a go. It wasn't easy because as a person who doesn't really talk much, and like I just doing my own art, right? Oh, it was so first it was so tough for me.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean like
teaching, right? Like it was hard at first, right?
Yeah, delivering something that is like art, right? It's hard to describe, and you may do it well, but I think like to deliver, to teach somebody, it requires certain skills. But I eventually pick it up. I eventually pick it up, and And I've been there for a very long time.
How many years have you been a teacher in total?
15 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I was just going to say, so right now in Taiwan, I am an English teacher.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Yeah, mainly for private institutions, cram schools, kindergartens, things like that. Eventually, I'm going to be working at a tutoring center. So instead of like young school children, I'm going to be working with like teenagers, college age adults, business adults, people like that. So, but I definitely sympathize with any other kind of teacher.
Yeah.
Let's actually talk more about your inspirations as an artist. You already mentioned that you got inspirations when you were first drawing, just copying different covers and pages from comic books. Did you also have any art senpais, artists either from the fandom or comic book artists that really inspired you in your current art style?
I think at my my time back then, there wasn't like a lot of furry artists, and I think the social media wasn't that, there wasn't Twitter, there wasn't like a platform where you can interact. It's mostly just a gallery. Like like I still remember the gallery I was in. It was called like Yerf, and like VCL. It was like really old. I think it's still up there. It's like archived somewhere. So it was not just furry art alone. Like I grew up like mostly like in the fantasy, so it's just like human characters and all that stuff. Like
No wonder.
yeah. So I wasn't even sure I was a furry. Like I didn't know the term furry until when I was like 17, I think. I saw for the first time some art online. I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like, oh, it's like some animal drawings, and I start to like draw them more. But I always thought I was the strange kid because no one around me actually drew those stuff, right? Like nowadays you have friends around you that's like furry and doing artist or musician or that you can know. But back then I was like I felt like I was the only one, and I was like, oh, is this okay? Is this like acceptable? Am I weird? Like everyone is just drawing like different things, right? Like
Yeah.
like if you were to say like, are there any senpai? I don't think I have anyone that's physically around me. Mostly they are overseas. I do have a lot of overseas like really good artists. Like one of them was like name of John Foster. He's not like a furry artist or anything. He's just mainly like he does illustration.
Can you say his name again? So what was his name again?
John Foster, Jon.
Is this the guy we saw? Like I remember like you and Foxa one time in Discord. We were looking at Internet Archive. Were you looking at his artwork at one point?
I think
can't remember.
I think
yeah. Because then we also saw your old website or something like that.
Yes.
Anyway.
Anyway, but wanted mentioning because like if you look at my old work, right, there's always a lot of sepia tones, earth tones.
Oh yeah.
It actually got inspired from that. In part of my growing up artist, I use a very limited palette.
Did you ever contact him or?
I think that's probably when you have the that fanboy feeling, right? When your favorite artist like finally reply. We did it through this platform called conceptart.org. So where you share your arts, and some of the people that are like professionals in the industry. And one of them was like John, and when I posted art, like I was hoping that you'll see it, and finally saw it. And but there was sort of like a forum. It was mainly run like a forum thread where you post your dailies, your speed paints. You mingle. You kind of know the community because the community back then was really small. But now the community is like so huge that it's like it's too big. But when it was small, it was nice because you know almost everyone around. Later on, I really wanted to join this art competition where he was one of the judges. And what makes it the best was that I actually got chosen to be included in the book, and that was like nice. I would say that, but I did eventually move on from that phase. After a few years, I moved on to like maybe other things. Yeah, but it's quite interesting that as an artist, you are constantly growing. What style you have. Or what inspire you will also change. Your favorite artist will also change as you grow. I think that's a pretty interesting concept or aspect as an artist.
Okay, you started off as you started off with traditional art, right? Like that's what you started off with, but then you shifted to digital. Is that right?
Yeah.
So like, did you just like digital more, or like what was the reason for the shift?
I had to kept saying my time because like it was like so long ago where the
Okay.
Photoshop was just very new. Like it was just like Photoshop 3, I think, and Wacom just got into the market. So there wasn't many digital artists in the whole industry. Like the game industry was very new.
Oh wow.
It's really like a split image of how recently like there's a boom in furry digital artists. So imagine that in back in the days like 10, 20 years ago, that was what it was like in the gaming industry. So I make sure that I brush up my traditional skills, like rendering,
Yeah.
drawing anatomy and human figure, and then I do color in digital because I couldn't afford oil painting. I wanted to pick up oil
Oh
painting
yeah,
really.
yeah,
I
yeah.
really love like the medium, but I just don't have the money to buy the paints because it's so expensive. So I knew that I had to like buy a tablet, which I didn't buy. I won it at a competition. So that's how I survived.
Damn.
Yeah, that's how I survived.
Congratulations. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
because I was student,
Yeah.
I was poor, so I had
Yeah.
to work really hard. Like the things I need, I really need to find like ways to get them. So I was joining a lot of competition because of this. I was like eyeing like
Yeah. Yeah.
if I won this competition, oh, they give you a Photoshop, so I joined, and then I won, so I had a free Photoshop, and which I use that to practice and so on and so forth. Yeah.
It seems like even when you were still starting out and figuring out what your style was, you were still very working very hard. Basically, I think that's where that sort of workaholic nature comes from. I can kind of tell just hearing your stories and hearing all the competitions you did, depending on the different circumstances. Maybe because it was just a way to get money because you were poor. Yeah, I can appreciate a hardworking person, and I think it really has paid off because now you have a really nice, really great art style. You have a good following, a lot of dedicated fans. I appreciate that. I think you're a good
Oh,
artist.
thank you so much. I try my
Yeah.
best.
Yeah. Everyone tries their best. That's the real truth of it. Everyone tries their best.
I kind of want to take another step back, maybe, and go to the furry stuff. Like we talked about you being an artist, we talked about you being a teacher, but like, where did furry fit in? Like, when did furry come into your life? If you can go back and tell us about your exposure to furry.
I think it's definitely from the art side, right? Because I think
Okay.
I wasn't like exposed to like fursuits. There wasn't much fursuiters actually. It
Yeah.
was definitely through the gallery like here, VCL, where I start to see more like-minded artists like who draw the same thing. But I was already like 17 years old, which considered pretty like old to be in the furry fandom. So then that's why I learned about the furry fandom, that term. I think I was already drawing some furry animal, but I wasn't even know that it's like it's
Yeah.
it falls into the cake. I just know that I kind of like it. I was like, I don't even know why I like it. I'm just like, hey, this looks nice, and, and there's just a lot of doodles of those drawings in my sketchbook. I carry this little sketchbook around where I'll draw on them during my free time. And eventually, I think when you see more people doing it, and it's all right. I think that kind of like became normal for me. Then I started to upload my work. Yeah, I think the rest is history lah.
What was this like back in secondary, or is this like when you're in poly,
It
or?
was definitely my first year in poly, so that's about
Oh, okay.
17 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people don't know, like, after, for Singaporeans, they study secondary and then they do polytechnic. For people who don't know about Singapore, because we don't have that equivalent in America. We don't really have polytechnic in America. Yeah. After high school,
Is
usually
it-
we go straight to university.
So I guess it's like in the UK or Germany or where they have like college and then they
Yeah,
have university.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, their definition of college
Okay.
is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going back to the furry stuff, it's just like, did you feel like furry was going to explode though? Like, you joined the furry fandom, like you were probably innocent at the time, I imagine, just being young.
Yes.
And like, did you know that like it was going to be like cons and everything, and like fursuits?
No,
and
I don't even know like
Yeah.
like what's conventions and
Yeah.
like I guess it's not so much of like maybe it's already happening, but I'm just not exposed to it. I only had my first like computer in when I was 17. Like that was
Oh, okay,
like the
okay.
the internet boom and everything was very new. I wasn't even sure what's the future back, like what's going to happen. I don't think I was so concerned. I was just trying to
Yeah.
learn and practice my art, do games, hopefully work in a game company, right? That was my goal. It
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
so
yeah.
much furry orient. I was like doing the furry side stuff, but I wasn't using it as a portfolio for my professional like
Mm-hmm.
job. When you interview, right, you need to prepare a portfolio. I wasn't even using any of those like furry art for them. I was just kind of like hiding them. Like I
Yeah,
know I'm
yeah,
doing
yeah.
that for fun, but on the side I was like, I need to prepare more serious stuff for job interviews. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Can you tell us like more about your persona though? Like, but like why cheetah? Like, why CheetahPaws? So like, so I guess like you're a cat person, or
So back then I was like really timid in teenage years. So I was like
mm-hmm.
really quiet, soft spoken, and in my class I'll be like the quietest person
Mm-hmm.
among my classmates. It's not that I don't have friends. I still have friends, but like when I hang out with them, I usually just the one like just listen and let them have the spotlight to
Mm-hmm.
talk, right? So because of that, I get bullied a lot. Like
Oh,
I
really?
get bullied by people because I
Oh,
don't know,
quiet.
like because I don't like being aggressive, right?
Oh, okay, okay.
Like I really like cats, right? So I think among
Mm-hmm.
all the big cats, like every you know I love like tigers. I love like
Mm-hmm.
because they have the nice patterns. But I don't feel like
Mm-hmm.
I'm that courageous back then. So I think that was the reason why I chose like the cat, cause the cheetah in the wildlife, right? As you know, is always being bullied by hyenas.
Yeah.
They come and steal their prey and they just run away.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The only thing they can
Mm-hmm.
do is just run fast. They can't fight, right?
Oh, right, right,
Yeah,
right.
I mean that was like I mean
Interesting.
people were like very surprised. Like I tell them this, like oh you look so like fit, and I do like
Yeah, yeah.
can fend myself, because I learn martial arts and all that stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
I think like my personality is not to like do any harm, so I'm just like
Mm-hmm.
I think like oh maybe cheetah is like suited for me, and I just added the paws because it's cute. So so it's just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
cheetah.
Cat paw.
That's pretty much
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
cute. So when did you start like meeting other furries though? Because like this is still like in the early days of like the Singaporean furry fandom. So like when did you get to the point where you started wanting to meet other people though, like meet other furries?
I think the community was pretty small. Like there are some
Mm-hmm.
furries and friends and
So you met Smile in the beginning, right?
yeah, but I don't really hang out because like I told you I was like really quiet, and
Mm-hmm.
I do go out for like sketch art meets, but it
Mm-hmm.
was with non furry friends. Like I couldn't find many like artists, like furry artists in Singapore, like locally
Yeah, yeah.
back then. So I didn't really join much of the meets lah. I was like this
Oh, okay,
like
okay.
like not
Where you're like
so
on the
active.
fringe, like
Yeah.
the outside, like yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the community in Singapore, like I mean, we can say a lot of things, but I feel like because it's easy to meet people, I guess, like like generally speaking,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
it's kind of hard to avoid people, I guess, sometimes. But yeah,
I do take for granted a lot that it's so easy to meet up
uh-huh.
friends here in Singapore because it's just so
Hmm.
close. Like you can just take a
Hmm.
train and you can just meet up as compared to overseas lah.
Yeah, yeah. But like people probably know you as like probably like an old timer because you've been in the fandom for. Can you remind me again? How long have you been in the fandom?
I think it
Like 20.
was 2001. I would say
Oh
2000.
wow,
Yeah.
wow.
So
That's
over 2
impressive.
decades.
Yeah, that's a long time.
That's
That
so
is a long
long.
time. That's more than me. Wow,
That's
obviously, I've
more
only
than.
been in Canada for like 5 years.
But I wasn't active.
Yeah.
I wasn't active back then lah. I would say
Oh
it's
yeah.
yeah.
I guess that's almost like me, where I've technically been in the fandom since 2010, but
So like 10
wasn't
plus, 10 plus
active.
years.
Yeah,
Yeah, like 10
yeah,
plus. Yeah, that's a long time too.
yeah. But I wasn't really like making an effort to produce anything or give anything to the fandom until about 2016 or 2017.
Oh.
So, working on this podcast and doing other kinds of projects, that's when I feel like I'm more active. But still part of the fandom.
Yeah. I didn't do much when I first joined. I joined in like 2017 to 18. I was still like discovering myself, and I didn't have a persona at the time. I thought I was gonna be a wolf, but I ended up being a fox. But you know, it ended up being, I had no regrets. But like when I started out, I didn't do much, but not until this podcast, I guess. Like what, like 2020, 2021, 2021.
2021,
That
yeah.
we that I started doing more stuff, and then the podcast with Burger has like helped with that. Yeah.
I think you guys are doing an amazing job.
All right,
Well,
it's time for us to
the
say no,
compliments.
man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to say because I always feel like, again, like you, I want to be a hard worker. I want to work hard and make a good product, you know?
Yeah. Can do
I
it.
appreciate the compliment though. At what point did you say that, like, okay, look, I can actually start making money off of furry though? Because, you know, we're
Oh,
talking about, like, we've gone past the point where, like, you got into art, you got into furry, but when did you realize, okay, I can sell my art, I can take commissions and so forth and make merch and all that?
wow. I wouldn't say it was like easy and too early because I wasn't feel very secure with having like doing commission as a full time or doing freelance as
Mm-hmm,
I had a bad experience working as a freelance non furry art and it was
mm-hmm,
really stressful. I had like months where I don't have any much income. It was like maybe $600 a month and it was up
mm-hmm,
and down and it wasn't secure and I had to keep on looking for clients. So I knew that I needed to have a full time job,
mm-hmm.
either a games company or something
Yeah.
else. From that point onwards, at least for me, going to furry full time was never on my list. It was maybe like a backup plan, but I knew that
Mm-hmm,
to be able to reach there, I had to have like a solid foundation in
mm-hmm.
producing art as at a high quality. But I wasn't over. I never was satisfied with my art, so I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't do it as a commission basis because it will take me too long. Because every piece, usually I dedicate so much time in one single piece that it took
Oh
me
yeah.
like maybe at least a month. I
I
mean,
think we can see that, like, when
yeah.
we or me or anyone looks at your art, we can see the strokes and, like, the it's like a masterpiece almost, like almost everything I see from you.
So given that thought, right, I probably
Yeah.
couldn't keep up, like
Oh, okay.
constantly because at the rate I'm
Hmm.
going, I'm just too slow. But of course now I got
Okay.
faster. But I think
Yeah, yeah.
I'll do it at the side like as a practice when I get home at night. So I
Hmm.
always once I get home from work, I'll be just practicing a lot.
Yeah. So you were
Yeah.
still, so this was the point of time where, like, you were a full-time teacher, like you became a full-time teacher and you were trying to do the furry
Yeah,
while being
yeah,
full-time
yeah,
teacher, right?
yeah.
That's when you took more commissions and stuff.
I started taking a little bit, like, but a little bit means I think it's
Uh-huh.
very little. It's just once a year.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I wasn't
Mm.
very
wow.
very confident about my
Hmm.
skill. When you deliver something to a client, it's different. Like you want it to be the best,
Hmm.
right? Like so,
Oh yeah.
I didn't want to do like a lot. I didn't want to like do so much commission where I have to rush through each piece. I only get more comfortable at doing more furry art is only 4 5 years ago. It wasn't that long.
Hmm.
So I when I came part time, I knew that I want to do more art because teaching does take away a lot of your time.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I don't like to teach, but I really want to build up my skills. And I think now it's easier to do commissions. Like that's the supply demand is there, and
Yeah.
like there's a lot of artists as well, right? So much amazing artists, digital artists right now.
Hmm.
That is like I think it's really nice to see like there's a lot more artists now, and there's also a lot of people wanting like furry art. So I think it's definitely something someone can get into like now.
Hmm. So you talked about furry being cool and like having a real affinity for different kinds of animal characters, but like what else is sort of driving you to do art? Like what's part of your drive to furry art specifically?
That's like never really thought much. It's just like I
Hmm.
think it looks nice. I'm not sure like how attached it is, but I'll say that ever since young, you kind of know that you enjoy and you when you're in that zone when you draw, right, or paint, you feel this like maybe zen moment or something. Like you really like
Hmm.
engrossed in that craft. So I think that's kind of like addictive. It has always been that state of mind when I do my art. There's no question about it. Like I don't have to ask myself like how long I'll do it or when I do it. I know for sure that
Hmm.
I'm going to do it
Hmm.
for life because that's what my passion is. I never really,
So it almost feels like
yeah.
it almost feels like instinct,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's kind of like that. I mean, furry, it does looks really nice. I definitely enjoy doing furry art, but I have to like train myself in doing other arts, right? Like concepts,
Hmm.
backgrounds, and stuff. So because I know I have to find jobs, so I train in like a huge spectrum. But I can do like a couple more variety now. So I think I always enjoy like just having appreciation for arts in general. Like even if it's not furry or non-furry, I love like good visuals. I'm a very visual person. Yeah, and colors and all that. It looks really nice. So furry is just like what do you call it? Like a topping on the icing on the cake.
Oh
yeah, the cherry on top.
Yeah.
But I remember there was like a specific like period of time where, kind of going back to your history though, like you said you're like a full-time teacher and you were taking commissions. You're working full-time for like 9 years.
Yeah.
And then like eventually you shifted to furry.
Yeah, cause
you did the furry full-time, but like what caused the shift? Like what made you take like the leap of faith?
Yeah, actually that's every year, like the school has this graduation show, and obviously it's for the school lah. But I'll actually like bump into my old friends. Like my old friends are in the industry, right? They know me for a long time. And every year they come and they'll see me in school and I'll be like, why are you still in school? Why are you still here? You belong to the industry. Because the industry needs your skill set. Why are you here? Like I'm like, oh no, I'm afraid. I don't want to go. I don't want to change environment. And every year they ask the same thing, which is kind of hits me hard. So after the third year, after three years of asking, I really thought into it. I was like, I wasn't very happy with my progress. I was progressing really slow. I knew that I needed to shift. Like I needed to have more time. So I took a leap of faith, and I went full time doing my merch and doing my arts and doing commissions. And that's why I knew that.
And you were going to like cons around the world, right? At that point, because you were selling your stuff, right?
Yeah, I was improving so much. Like I would say that within a year, I improved in my art so much compared to the 9 years I had when I was teaching. That was that was I will not making any understatement. It was really that frustrating for me as an artist. But I think it also shows my own self-worth, because after a year I was traveling like 10 times a year. So every month I'm going to a convention overseas.
It must have been exhausting.
It was really exhausting. But I realized that people enjoy the art, right? People are talking to me about my arts, and the whole subject is like about art, my arts, or at least art in general, like furry and those stuff. It's really, really so different when I was doing a full-time. It's nice to know your worth and what could be, because when I was in teaching, I get so looked down upon. I wasn't like to the student point of view, they look up to me, but in the teaching management way, I wasn't having I don't have university, right? I don't have a degree or anything. Because my family is poor, I didn't get a chance to study abroad. All I had was a diploma, right? The only reason they want me in school is because of my drawing skills. But then in school they look at papers like how senior you are, or like, do you go overseas to work before? Are you from a big company? Are you from Pixar or those stuff? I don't have any of those.
It was probably like a big leap then to go do furry full time, I guess. Because you're giving up like the stable income.
Yeah.
Now you're working freelance and you have to find your clients and sell your merch and stuff.
Yeah. But I guess it's more of the.
How long did you do that? How long did you do that for? Just the furry full time.
It was
furry
about the past 4-5 years.
Oh, okay.
4-5 years, yeah. Minus of, I mean, COVID halted everything for 2 years. So.
Oh yeah. You were doing that, and then like you're like before COVID, you were just like traveling to different countries and cons and so forth. You're selling your merch, and then you're making your money back, I think, right?
Yeah, it was. I guess the reason why I decided to move on is because I wasn't paid a lot in school.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't have the education, but I was doing just as much work as anybody else, which is kind of unfair. I'm not saying that about my school. I don't know. Oh my god! I hope they don't hear this, but that's really how it is. Yeah. Which is why I decided to go as well. It's one of the many factors, I would say.
Well, I kind of have a related question. Is it difficult to be like an artist as a profession over in Singapore?
I would say, it's pretty difficult. The industry here is pretty small. Like unless like there's companies that bring their work here or set up a company here, a studio, then there's some vacancies. Other than that, you have to work really hard because you're competing with like a lot of foreign talents. Like there's a lot of foreign talents in Singapore as well, right? and overseas now it's like easy to get people to.
Right, especially with the internet.
Yeah, and so the thing is that the living expense here is pretty high. I won't say it's the highest around, but it's pretty high. If you want to compare, like someone may be as good as you and maybe just request like half the salary, and obviously they'll get higher, right? So if you want to stand out, you have to be really like better than average, and I think that's where the stress is from. I may teach arts in the art school, and the student graduate. They may stay in this line. They may not as well. Like I think for my batch, when we graduated, only 5% retained in this line. That's pretty small. Like the rest had to like switch job, not because they are not good. Like I think just not enough market back then. Like I think now it's slightly different. Like now you can work like offline. You can work like freelance. You can just talk through Zoom. So there's like a lot more jobs if you really keep your options open. So I think it's more viable, and there's a lot of entertainment. Like there's games, mobile, and so I think it's kind of better than before. Yeah, and I think it will continue to grow as well. It's still growing, like movie industry and all that stuff.
Because like maybe for most people, I don't know about supply and demand, but like I feel like most people would want to like be doctors or engineers or something like that, or lawyers. Like your parents want you to do that, but then here you have like as an artist back in the day where you said it's harder, like it was probably like, I don't know, hard or like weird for your parents to accept that maybe. Like they didn't know like where you were going to go.
I want to say something about it. My parents' perception of being an artist, right, is you only get money if you die. Like if you sell your paint, those like maybe like Monet or Picasso, like their whole idea was really that they tell me that, if you want to be an artist, you only get rich when you die lah. Like in Chinese that's the kind of thing they say, and I don't really blame them. And imagine like when you are like 12 years old, and not 12, maybe 15, and your parents respond, you definitely like you don't feel like really encouraged, right? I mean, compared to now, maybe now parents are more exposed, like handphone, you have like games already, right? So it's easier to explain like, the things you watch, the things you read is all related, right? But I think like for my parents' era is totally like non-existent. It's like you only get money when you die. That's the thing. They
So we know that you're an artist, and obviously you draw like quite a bit of like males and so forth. So like, coming out though, like to your parents, like how was that? Like if you told them?
I think came out when I was 21, and it went. It went horribly wrong. Yeah, so it wasn't like a good time. It was I was in the army, right? I was in the army, serving army for like 2 years, the mandatory one. And I was just naive basically, because like I'm very close to my family, and I wasn't prepared what their response is, but I just feel like I had to share with them because I like to be honest. But never did I know that because them being very traditional, like those very traditional conservative Chinese family, then they didn't take it well. My mom was like in Chinese, like she's just like don't go the wrong way, go the straight way. Don't sidetrack. Yeah. I mean in Chinese it doesn't sound I just joking, it doesn't sound like that, but in Chinese my dad was like very upset. I remember when I tell him, he was like had that moment where he actually even thought like, did he make a mistake? Did he not bring me up well? I can tell he almost like he was like a bit crying. Like it was like a disappointing, but he can't blame himself more than he angry at me. But that made me very upset, because when I saw that, I felt bad. I felt like, is there something wrong with me? Can I really change? And
you were really brave though. I feel like you're really brave, because like I don't know when this was, but like it was probably several years ago
when I was 21. So
when it was like probably more difficult to be gay or bi back then. So like you were I feel like you did a really brave thing though.
I would have done it differently. I would have eased in more, because I just tell them like that. I didn't give them a chance to prepare. And my siblings was a bit homophobic. So my brother especially, like I think him being a guy, he didn't take it well. Even though he's very close with me, he didn't accept it. And my sister was like trying to bring me to like so-called her gay friends, and and using her own way, like, can you change? Is this what the life you want? you being looked down upon and all that stuff. Like yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Then I felt lonely. I felt like I didn't get the
Mm-hmm.
support I want, and so that strained the relationship between me and my family. So for
Yeah.
next like 5+ years, I never really talk about my life much to them. Yeah, I was
Oh,
still like living my life and
uh-huh.
doing my work, but I couldn't share any of
You
this.
still live with them? Like you still live with them during the fight, or you moved out?
I still live with them, so that's
Oh,
the
okay.
very painful period for me. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it was.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't share any happy, but it was like that for me. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, my only regret is I wish I was a bit more understanding, like because they need
Mm-hmm.
time to be exposed and to understand,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I don't blame them.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
How did they feel now, though?
Now
Like
they are
compared to
they
the
are
how did?
perfectly okay.
Oh,
Now they
okay,
are
okay. So
not
it's
as
not weird.
it's been like so many years, right? Like
That's good to hear. That's good to hear.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll say that it does takes time.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, like there's a long story and there's a lot of things happen, but generally that's
Sure.
yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think like now do you feel like Singapore is like do you think they're getting more open like people overall do you feel like they're getting
Yes.
more open?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Cuz people keep joking about the holding hands thing and like getting in trouble cuz that's not a law anymore, right? The holding hands thing
But
and like people getting in trouble for that.
but the thing is that you don't really see that even now, like in public.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think
Uh
even I myself, I don't really do that also, and I don't see
okay.
people doing that. But the younger generation are definitely more open because
Yeah,
I teach
yeah.
in schools, right? Even the kids are
Mhm.
like they some of them are actually lesbian and gays. They actually came out to me
Yeah.
and they
Mhm.
actually just because they know I'm an artist, right? That's the nice
Right.
thing is they actually came out to me and tell me that how much they love my arts and don't be afraid to do
Mhm.
what I like, and they are perfectly okay with that.
Got it.
Yeah, and that was one of
Yeah.
the touching moments like I had when I was teaching, and it was just a few years ago. So they
Yeah.
know about me, they know about what I do, they know I'm doing my best to teach them. So
Yeah.
so that was quite a relief, and I guess that shows how open they are. I would say
Mhm.
all, but it's quite a number. I've been seeing that constantly with every year, like they're more
So
open.
you were more than just a teacher for them. Like you were
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
that they could confide in. They can trust you
Yeah.
because they're telling you about like them being gay or bi or whatever. But like so like you were more than just a teacher, almost like a friend maybe, or at least
Yeah,
someone
but
they can confide
yeah,
in.
it's funny thing is that a lot of them they feedback they see me more sometimes more as a friend. So I guess I
Oh
don't know
yeah.
I don't really I don't really know, but I guess like
Hmm.
yeah, usually I'll talk to them like normally. So I guess that's
Yeah,
how
yeah.
we are like more open about this. But of course professionally I don't talk about this at all. Like when I'm
Yeah,
teaching,
yeah, yeah.
I tell them
Yeah.
like strictly I'll be professional. You can talk
Hmm.
this offline outside, but in school
Hmm.
I will just teach like what I should be teaching you,
Yeah.
like my job.
Yeah.
I remember you said you don't talk about the furry
Yeah, yeah.
stuff in
I'll,
school, right?
oh, whenever they ask, right, I'll say, "What is that?" I don't know. Yeah, are you talking about Disney
No
cartoon?
way.
Oh, right. Oh, Strike, is it Strike? Oh, okay. Yeah,
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it.
It almost seems like a conflict of interest to talk about your furry art with your students.
yeah. I think I
Hmm.
don't want to go into that with them. But I
Yeah,
explain to them it's not professional of me if I do that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, for sure,
I think
yeah,
honestly, just hearing that you are a professional on the job, but like students are still respectful of you enough to like actually talk to you about something personal about them, like that they were gay or something. That just really makes you a good teacher. That's something that I try to aspire to whenever I'm teaching. Try to be professional but like relatable and approachable.
yeah.
I think
Same,
those
same.
all are great qualities for any kind of teacher. And yeah, I think that's really good that you have all those qualities.
I'm not sure about that, but thank you. But I'm still learning.
I was a teacher for like 4 or 5 months. I taught history, so I taught a very dry subject, so I didn't really have much time to interact. Plus it's a public school system. We have an agenda, we have to get things done. But like I've had moments like that where like I've had like my students come up to me and they hug me, which I had to kind of draw some lines. Like I don't really want to I don't want to get in trouble, right? They hug me or whatever, but like it's because I told them I like anime. They know about like anime and stuff, and yeah. So I had like some weebs in the classroom who liked me a lot, but yeah. But I like sign like you, right? I had to draw the line, right? Okay, we can talk a little bit, but we need to talk more about history. You're definitely someone who like I admire for several reasons. One of them is I feel like you work really hard, and when I look at my life, I feel like I should work as hard as you. But I also feel like, given the chances and the opportunities I've got to talk to you, I feel like you're really a really like down to earth kind of guy.
I think you work hard. I don't know. I think you
Really?
work just as hard. I'm not sure. I think sometimes I'm still a bit lazy. I don't know. I can't really compare. I do want to believe I'm hardworking. I'm trying my best, but yeah, it is. Yeah, I think everyone's just doing their best also.
I guess you could say like I'm more of like a recent fan of yours. I didn't make this clear, but I actually met you about 5 years ago, if you still remember. Do you remember 2017 Infernity?
Yes.
With like Foster. That's how I met you, and then I showed you my voice acting work. And then we talked a little bit, and then we always see each other like at remember JMOF, I think. I saw you at JMOF, and I saw you at Tide Tales, and then LAFC, and then Infernity.
Yeah.
So like I've seen you kind of like around Asia. We just never really got to talk a lot. And I just had to ask, is this the first time you've been like on an interview or?
I think so. Yeah. This is like my first time.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks for.
How do you feel?
I still feel nervous. I don't really do interviews well. I mean, I'm a really like a simple guy, so I hope like I can share more in this short like video or something. Yeah.
I think you're doing a good job right now. You're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. That you're doing a great job so far. Don't worry about it.
Yay.
I was mentioning earlier that I've only been like following you for like 4 to 5 years, I guess. At least for me, that's a short period of time. But like we know you as an artist, like primarily in the furry fandom, right? Like several people have seen your art, and then you also make merchandise, right?
Yeah.
Like what kind of merchandise have you made?
Actually, the merchandise only started like 5 years ago, like 5 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because
Okay.
I didn't get to like travel much because of my job. Like I was like teaching, right? So
full time, right?
Yeah, I was back in full time. I was teaching arts and in an animation school, like animation and game school. And pretty much the calendar is like every time when there's time to take breaks, but it's on the period where there's no convention going on and stuff, and you can't really take breaks in the middle of like your semester because that's where everything happens, right? So I can't go for almost all the conventions. The reason I can visit convention more like in the past like few years is because of I switched to part-time teaching, and I had more time doing my arts, pursue my arts and like commissions and all that stuff, and I think that's where I really start to like go all out. I really went all out with the like trying to just try to get my art out there, like in merchandise and posters and all that stuff. Like just pretty much trying to set up my booth.
Like your company is called Planet Cheetah. Is that correct?
Cheetah. I wouldn't say it's a company, just like and then
your brand
or name. So because like my name is like CheetahPaws, so it's like CP, right? So it's like Cheetah. Planet Cheetah is like the same.
Yeah, because I saw your stuff we talked about this before, but I saw your stuff at TFF back in 2020, which was like the last big con of 2020. And I saw your artwork, like Planet Cheetah. I was like, oh wow, I didn't know you had like a distributor or like a seller there in Texas.
Oh yeah. Because Fur Planet is my publisher for like many years, and they actually live in Texas, but they do travel to almost like all the major cons in the US. And that's where we partner up. Like I proposed to them to do like some calendars, and they were like really really keen to the idea. So, and I started to do that for the first time, not knowing like the outcome, and it was like not that great in the first year. It was like not many people know about it, but we did it again like the next year, and it did so much better. Like there was like a lot of people hearing about the calendars. They saw the art, they liked the theme, so they started buying, and it soon became like, at least in their store, they told me that they were the best seller for like for their among all their items. So
Amazing.
we kept going. So now it's like my I think eighth year doing the calendar. Yeah, that was the thing that I was like, you asked me about Christmas and stuff, right? I was actually still rushing to get it done for one of the big cons in US. So I had to hit the deadline before I can rest. So I had to like burn the midnight oil for a while. But it was like worth it. Yeah.
So like during your time as a furry artist, you definitely traveled to like a lot of places. Like you mentioned before, you were going to different cons, JMOF, for Infernity, obviously. And I remember you went to Furrymosa, I think. Yeah, I saw you, I think, one time. Yeah. And so like you've been traveling these cons, and like, do you have a favorite one?
I mean, so far, even though I travel a lot, it's usually the Asian region. Like the furthest I went was like Europe, like for Euroferns.
EF,
and JMOF. So I'll say
you went to Furdu.
Yeah,
right?
Furdu was actually my first convention.
Wow.
I think back then I was like, I didn't have like much. I didn't know much people. So when I went there, I didn't really kind of enjoy myself to the most. Like I didn't know anybody, and I didn't get to talk to much people. I don't have a booth or anything. I don't have.
Sure.
I don't
really? At that time, you didn't have a booth.
So I kind of like was a bit lonely when I went there. It was back in 2014. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But that aside, I would say my current favorite is like Infernity. Yeah.
Good answer. Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah. Not because of like just only because like this podcast or anything. I really enjoy it. I mean, I would say JMOF as well. But the thing is that there's a language barrier there, and I can't speak Japanese, right? It's a really nice con, like as it is, right? It's really amazing, especially like the people. So I'll say Infernity, cause like it's much easier to communicate with friends. So
because you also speak Chinese.
Yeah,
you're Chinese, so like you can speak Chinese.
I mean, I can. I do speak Chinese at home.
It's better than mine, man.
Oh, that's something I always prank my friends. Like if we meet the first time, I pretend I don't speak Chinese. But actually, I do speak Chinese. Funny. I just can't write it well. But actually, honestly, I can't speak like the traditional, like the terms and all that. I can't really speak so well. So that's why I'm been trying to pick up.
Yeah.
I went to Furry Tea Party. I went to Furrymosa, and I enjoy those because you can like really sell. Just focus on selling the merch. Yeah.
So like during your travels though, you probably met like maybe not just during the travels, but just online. Like you probably like seen a lot of artwork from other people. And so like you yourself as like an Asian furry artist, like do you think there's like a style difference between the way like Asian furries draw compared to like Western furries? It's actually kind of unique because I think your style is like, it kind of looks more Western to me than anime. I feel, but maybe that's just how I feel. But yeah,
it definitely was because I was like very inspired by the Western style.
Like Western cartoons.
Yeah, most of the like serious realistic painting was like more the Western style. Like the anime style was like the simpler like paintings, shell shadings. So I think now is come to an era where there's a merge where like both regions are trying to imitate each other. You can see that in animation where they're trying to imitate the style, right? But definitely there's a separation. Like you can tell that anime is still there. It's still very like the signature.
Yeah, the kimono style,
which is very nice.
And I think, like the fursuit.
Yeah, and the fursuit designs and Western style also trying to kind of use that. But I think it's nice.
So how come you never drew the kimono style, or like do you?
I actually do. I did. But it wasn't
really?
I tried to blend because I really enjoy it. I think it's kind of influenced my own way.
Your art looks like a blending of the two, actually.
Yeah.
At least to me, it looks like your art, like it almost looks like you mixed the two together, maybe.
If I look at my old arts, right, I don't really like it as much. I don't know why.
Oh, really?
Like, I think I kind of moved on. But I mean, that's what interesting is about phases, right? Where artists like your style evolve over time. So I didn't know that I will. But I like this kind of evolve. Like I don't want to stay stagnant.
Yeah.
I always want to experiment around and try new things. So. So yeah, I'm currently right now in the trying different styles also, like just to have fun and see how it goes. Yeah.
It's always good to change up your style, try new things.
try everything.
Depending on, even if it's like completely different from what you've been doing before, I think that's always good. I think that's what makes an artist good. It's like not just like changing your style, but also like being able to produce different styles, like just in general. Yeah.
It gets kind of old doing the same thing, I guess. Like if you keep
There's
doing
that
the same,
too, yeah.
I feel like it just maybe you want to do something different now.
I think it's always my philosophy to try new things and learn.
Yeah.
I think it'll be sad if you stay stagnant. I think that's the most scary thing about an artist, that if you look at your
Exactly.
work and you don't see a development, and that's when you know that you probably is like not learning new things. So far I think that has always been my philosophy when I was
Yeah.
learning until now. And I'm glad I've not stopped because I don't want to do the same pose, do the same art. I mean I still do that, but I try at least trying to try different, like can be different colors, different compositions, and all that stuff.
I like whatever you do with Von Lycan. Anything you do with Von Lycan, I love. He's my like, you know what I'm talking. Yeah. Like, yeah, I love that character. Like, I still want to ask MiHoYo or whatever, or Hoyoverse. I think they rebranded Hoyoverse. Like, if I could be their, if I could be his VA. I wanna apply, but like I'm still trying to figure out how to do that like properly. But yeah, like it's funny because they actually have Hoyoverse has a office in Singapore now.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah, like a year or two ago. Yeah, but you know, I mean, they might need someone like me because I also looked up like translation jobs because they're Chinese, right? So, yeah, who knows? Who knows what happens?
Yeah, it'd be cool if you are in it though.
I hope so. Yeah, like, I guess like it might be like an NDA thing where I can't say anything until it happens, but who knows? Like, my suspicion is that they're like casting people already because like the game isn't out yet, so they're probably still working on it. But
probably.
I don't know. Who knows? Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Yeah.
With what you're doing right now, is this something that you would still want to do 5 or 10 years down the line?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I would think that in terms of the art side, I'm producing a lot more art. It's not the best. Like I'm still not as productive as I want to be because there's a lot of things happening in life that I need to attend to. But I'll say that definitely is more healthier as an artist, because it's really frustrating when like you can't produce enough arts given the time, because I still feel like there's a lot of room for improvement in my arts even though like people say my art is really nice. I always see like a lot of mistakes, right? There's so many things I can't do yet, and I feel like I need to reach there eventually. So definitely doing all this like furry stuff is like more productive. Yeah, so definitely if I can live as this lifestyle, definitely is like a luxury. But I'm not sure whether I'm able to like sustain. So it's still a trial and error. Because there is stress. Because my family is not like well off or anything, right? So
Yeah.
so definitely I can't just say that, oh, if I can't find a job, then am I going to starve and all that stuff. So I do have some responsibility. I still need to take care of my parents. Most of the time, actually when I go convention, the earnings I had from that sale, I give a big chunk to my parents every time.
That's really kind of you.
Yeah, I've been
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah.
I've actually been doing that since I'm 18 years old until now.
Wow.
Yeah. So even I work at like part-time small jobs, I'll still give a small like 100, 200 back then, just to make them feel like I'm doing okay. You know, don't worry about me. So there's a certain responsibility I have. If I can continue, I'm sure I can continue. If things goes bad, perhaps I might have to go back to like some full-time job or something. Yeah, who knows? I'm still not too sure at this point.
Who are your current favorite furry artists?
Wow, you asked me such a tough question. Who are my current
Welcome to the podcast.
There's just so many people. I can't even remember like right on top of my head right now. I probably have to like refer to gallery. And there's just too many though. Like every artist have a certain personality that I like in their work. Like there's certain thing that stands out, and usually it's the things that I cannot do. You know, even some people who draw like really nice lines, I can't do lines, so I really like and appreciate like when people can do it so well. So I do have a lot of like favorite artists. You know, like what people do is like they try to imitate their style, and like some as I will say like aspiring artists. It's not that you can't do that, but I realized that when I paint, like I don't put anything on my windows to see. I just want to make sure that whatever I paint is like just comes out natural. Like I just paint as I go, but I do look at other people's work on the side, like on a daily basis. But when it comes to like creating art, I just try to be myself.
So we've been talking about your journey and your past as an artist. Were there any mistakes that you made when you were first starting out that you would avoid now? Like some sort of almost like advice that you would give to newer artists just starting out?
I think that's what I've also been telling to my like students sometimes. I think I'll still tell it to myself is don't be afraid to I would say it's very cliche, but be yourself. Like you maybe certain things you draw might like your lines is too hairy and you feel like hey that's not the mainstream, it's not mainstream acceptable. But I will usually encourage them like yeah, that's okay, you know, like it's not there's no one way, and you shouldn't critique yourself too much and judge yourself by like what you see outside. And if you are different, that's even better. Like if you are unique, then you stand out from the crowd. But I think because back then for myself, like, I will always question like, you know, what I do is so different, and I always thought that it's wrong. Even down to like drawing furry animals, I always thought like it's wrong. I will actually hide my drawings because I didn't want to show my friends my normal friends because I scared they would just laugh at me. You know, like they usually just tease me like, oh, why do you always just draw this a human with a cat head or something, and that really like make me very shy.
Could I cut in and ask though, like,
Yeah.
because I was thinking like, so like, what did your parents like think about that though? Like you wanting to be an artist and that kind of stuff. Like what did they think about like you know, here you are, you focus on art, you're doing competitions and stuff, and like you
Yeah.
know, like what did they think?
Yeah, that's because my parents didn't really know what I'm doing. Like I'll say they're not say they don't love me, but they don't really encourage me in
In
my
your
passion.
field.
Yeah, because the thing is that they are from like those hard labor. Like my dad
Yeah,
is a
background.
truck driver. He delivers like goods and partitions, and my mom is just a hawker, selling food at a hawker. So they had never had the luxury to like appreciate arts. You know, they have to work nonstop, and whatever I do, they don't really know if there's a market, there's a career. And I wasn't sure as well. I just know that I wanted to give it a try. So I didn't really get a lot of encouragement. I did get some encouragement from my sister, because she kind of did arts a while, like, but she didn't pursue it lah. And she'll say that I should go for it. And I think the rest is really like your own perseverance. Like you just have to believe in yourself and just try your best. Yeah, and so I'll say
Like
that
to this day, do they know that like you draw furry art though? Like they probably know you're a teacher, but like do they know about the
they
furry
get
stuff?
more like proud when I say I'm a teacher. They don't really get much feel when I tell them I'm an artist. So I think that's the general mentality. Like you know,
Oh.
as a teacher, is like, oh, you're educator. Then they'll start to tell their relatives. Probably they'll say the same in New Year, right? Oh, my son is a teacher. You know, but then, but I'm more passionate for arts. That's definitely that. Yeah.
But did they know the furry stuff or no?
They see my arts. They're like hanging around. They don't really care too much about that. I guess that's the only thing that I'm kind of glad, because I do have friends who parents are very like sensitive towards like furry arts, right? They can't hang their stuff at home, but for me they don't really care too much.
Would there be any other advice you would give to any new artist? We've heard some advice before about just being yourself, but like, what else would you give to any aspiring artists?
I'll definitely still say like don't be afraid of different people's opinion. Like you do put in the hard work. There's no easy path. Like there's no shortcuts. There's no like, oh, what's the best method? What's the best brush? You know, like a lot of people get misled by, oh, what's the special brush you use? It's not the key. Like you just use the normal brush, you still can work. And don't be too discouraged by your art not being looking good. Like you don't get the results you want. Like sometimes it can get discouraging. Don't be discouraged by that. Every single little time you put into art, right, you are definitely improving. Even you don't notice it, you are definitely improving. So just keep that in mind. That progress is always like small progress is a progress, and put in the hours. Like yeah, I would say that is practice a lot. That practice constantly. Try new things. And you'll definitely benefit from that. And just I'll say again, just be yourself. Don't let people around.
Be yourself.
Yeah,
put that on a t-shirt. I'll buy a t-shirt if you but be yourself. That's your new product.
Yeah. But that's all. That's good advice. It's very practical.
Yeah, great advice.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate that you've been on this podcast with us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for sitting and bearing with us for like 2 hours. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, before we wrap things up, can you go ahead and give us your social media? Where do you want people to find you on the internet?
I'm most active on my Twitter, which is CheetahPaws _ basically Cheetah _ Paws. You can find me on Facebook, which is Cheetah, or Telegram, which is also CheetahPaws. I also do like a workout kind of fitness channel, which is Chee Fitness. If you guys are interested in like exercise videos and stuff. And that's on Fur Affinity is also under the same name, like CheetahPaws. So it should be relatively easy to find me, I guess.
This kind of goes without saying, but I think I should put a disclaimer. Like, just keep in mind that to our audience, CP is a not safe for work artist, so please, no minors and all that. Yeah, just know what you're getting into. I think I should say I should at least say that much.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for the heads up. Yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, and thank you. Thank you for spending your free time with us for tonight. And I think with that, this has been the Fox and Burger podcast. Once again, thank you, CheetahPaws, for joining us. Thank you, audience, for listening to this episode. I have been Burger.
And I'm Michael the Munch Fox.
And we will see you on the next episode of the Fox and Burger podcast, everyone. Goodbye.
Happy New Year, 新年快乐，恭喜发财。
Yeah, Happy New Year.